Greetings! You are watching breaking news on the Creative Society TV channel. On May 7, 2022, an international online forum, The Global Crisis Where People We Want to Live, will take place. The information that has been kept from us will be voiced live. About the growing dangers of climate and environmental catastrophe, whether the current emergency services are prepared for global cataclysms, and about refugees and why it affects everyone. Now is the time for action. Connect to the forum and share this information with everyone so that together, all of humanity, we can do what we can for the survival of civilization. Learn more about the forum at creativesociety.com. And watch in this episode. On April 19th, a spring storm hit the northeastern United States and Canada, accompanied by high winds and abnormal snowfall. Snow levels exceeded 30 centimeters in New York, Pennsylvania, and Ontario. More than 250,000 homes and businesses were left without electricity. Heavy precipitation provoked many accidents on city highways. No injuries were reported. Next, the breaking news reporter from the US will tell us what other disasters occurred in his country in mid-April.
Hello, this is breaking news reporter from USA. On April 12, 2022, a wildfire broke out near Ruidoso Township, New Mexico, USA. Unfortunately, casualties have been reported. The fire scorched about 24 hectares of land. Over 200 homes were burned. The situation was exacerbated by seasonal winds that reached 145 kilometers per hour. More than 4,500 people were called to evacuate. On the same day, a snowstorm hit the northern US states, bringing record April snowfall to Montana and North Dakota. Up to 3 and in places up to 4 feet of snow fell here. This winter storm is believed to have broken more than a century record for the amount of snowfall. In addition, the snowfall was accompanied by powerful winds which reached 60 miles per hour and severe frosts. Thus, low temperature records were recorded throughout Montana, including in Chinook, where a 113-year-old record of minus 21 degrees Fahrenheit was broken. 3 days of snowstorms caused many highways to stop traffic. Air service was also suspended during those days. On April 12th, a tornado and large hailstorm struck southern Texas. A powerful tornado caused significant damage to the village of Salado in Bell County. More than 20 people were injured. Some buildings were reduced to rubble, power lines were downed, and trees were uprooted. The same supercell brought gigantic hail up to 5.5 inches in diameter, which is a very rare phenomenon. Several tornadoes have been recorded in the state of Iowa. In addition, from 13th to 16th April, a major storm occurred in Louisiana, New Mexico, and Kentucky. As of April 13th, more than 116,000 people remained without electricity. And residents of Arkansas and Mississippi faced severe thunderstorms and hail.
Strict water rationing has been introduced in Santiago, Chile's capital city of nearly 6 million people. The reason for this was the record-breaking drought that has persisted in the country for 13 years. The governor of the capital region called the situation unprecedented in the nearly 500-year history of Santiago. According to government estimates, the availability of water in the country in the last 30 years has decreased to 37% in some places. Climate change is becoming larger and more contrasting, even within the same continent. While some regions suffer from a lack of rainfall, others suffer from an overabundance of rainfall.
On April 16th, heavy rains hit the municipality of Suarez, Colombia. This caused the Piedra Imán Gorge to overflow with water, causing floods and landslides in some areas of the municipality. The current was so strong, it washed away cars and motorcycles. Some people were trapped in the middle of the water, so they had to be evacuated. In some places, houses were also flooded. Apart from that, there were power outages. Heavy rains that began on April 15th caused flooding in the city of Manaus, Brazil. Torrents of water filled streets and flooded homes. Hundreds of cars floated through the streets like boats. Several landslides on slopes were also recorded. The strong winds that accompanied the downpour tore off several roofs of buildings. No injuries were reported.
In the consumer format of society, when natural disasters occur, people often do not get proper help and have to rely only on themselves. An eyewitness to the climate disaster in Petrópolis, Brazil, will tell us more about this.
My name is Brian, and I'm from Brazil, from the city of São Paulo. I work for a social organization called Safras. There, in Petrópolis, we were helping people in this serious and difficult time, providing water and food, helping rescue people who were buried under mud for days. The city is still in the process of recovery. There is still no water in some places, and many people are still in temporary shelters from the local authorities. The city is a mountainous area in which more rains can come at any time. So with any more rain, the city could face a similar problem again. On February 15th, the city of Petrópolis was completely plunged into a state of collapse. Medical services stopped working for people. Supermarkets, places where people could buy food, were also affected. The city was in a state of complete devastation, and public services were unresponsive. Bodies of dead people were lying all over the city, washed away by the rain. The city was in a state of complete collapse. And we see a serious problem in the country, further exacerbated by the display of cowardice, in the lack of national coordination that we faced under the current government. And that makes emergency assistance to affected people fragmented rather than coordinated. So all the help from the government is the help that's missing for families at the moment. And we still have a big problem that the question remains. Where do we put these families? Because they used to live in dangerous areas and flee from floods and landslides, their homes have collapsed, and now these people have nowhere to go. Remembering what we had in Petropolis, two abnormal rains, one in February when we had 260 millimeters of rain in one day, the other one in March 20th when we had 500 millimeters of heavy rain. These were extreme events that we know are related to climate change around the world, and it certainly affects the social conditions of people, especially the poorest people. An example of this is what's happening in Petropolis right now. First of all, I want to support the Global Crisis Forum. It's a very important initiative to bring people around the world together and bring attention to different crises. We're not talking about one, we're talking about different crises. Along with the climate crisis, we have political, social, economic, and environmental crises that are affecting people all over the world. And I'd like to invite everyone to participate in the international online forum Global Crisis. We are people. We want to live. Thank you very much and have a great day.
A state of emergency has been declared in South Africa after deadly floods and landslides crippled the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Sadly, as of April 23rd, the death toll has surpassed 440 people and dozens more are unaccounted for. About 40,000 people were left homeless. An eyewitness to this January's flooding in Uganda will tell how natural disasters are affecting the lives of people in his region.
My name is Mbereinka Bernard. I come from Kisoro district, southwestern Uganda, East Africa. So I come from the slopes of Mount Mahabura, and I wanted to talk about the disaster that recently happened in our community. It happened on 24th of January, and in that disaster we lost 9 lives. So it was there was floods and mudslides. So when these floods and mudslides came, they came from Mount Mahabura. We normally have floods that come, but these ones were quite different because the water that came with a lot of stones, and the other side, another side where we got mudslides, they were very sticky and at the moment they are compacted. So when this came, the rain was not too much, but the volume of water that came and destroyed the houses, almost like 50 households were lost. It came at around 7 p.m. in the evening. So many people did not had not yet reached home. They were going home. So let alone when these mudslides killed people and destroyed crops, then houses, and very many other things, then the infrastructure was also destroyed. According to the investigations that are going on, some people who went to check where these floods originated from say there could have been some sort of eruption where some tectonic movements were happening on ground. Office of Prime Minister and the Ministry of Disaster and Preparedness hasn't come up with a thorough report to advise people on what to do in case there is a likely occurrence of this same thing to happen. So some people were told to not sleep in their houses during the night. They were told to always be looking for raised places whenever it rains, so that when these floods come, then they don't destroy more lives. But people are living in fear because at the moment they don't sleep in their houses for fear of losing lives. There were no warnings. It happened abruptly and it had to hit people. Of course, like when this disaster hit, people within the areas helped each other, especially in searching for the lives that had been lost in the floods. They were the ones who started excavating until when the government got to know and they brought some tractors to help to help remove the large volumes of sand and stones. But people have been so helpful to their fellow friends, because even at the moment, those whose houses were destroyed, they have not been, they have not got other new houses, so they are staying in the relatives' houses. So I think they have been at the forefront in all of this. I would like to tell the whole world that disasters, when they happen, they don't know any tribe, they don't know any race, no any religion. So we should not relax.
If you have witnessed a climate anomaly, send your video footage to climate@creativesociety.com. In the last issue, we reported on the devastating storm MEGI in the Philippines. According to updated data, it became known that the disaster took the lives of more than 160 people and about 100 are missing. Damage to agriculture in the Philippines exceeded $4.5 million. The consequences of the disaster affected about 2 million people. Stay tuned for more on what else happened around the world in April 2022.
On April 14th, 2022, a major storm struck the Indian state of Assam. For 48 hours, heavy rains, powerful winds up to 125 miles per hour, and thunderstorms did not stop their onslaught. Sadly, more than 10 people lost their lives. The elements felled trees and damaged power lines. The flooding damaged many homes and other facilities. Schools and government offices became shelters for people. Air and ground transportation was disrupted. On April 20th, the heaviest April snowfall in 20 years hit much of Spain. Some highways were blocked. More than 30 highways in the north and center of the country were blocked to traffic. Temperatures dropped from 43 degrees to 28.5 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not typical for Spain at this time of year. On April 21st, a severe storm with hail and gale-force winds hit the Taif Desert, Saudi Arabia. Monsoon rains caused flash floods. A torrent of water washed over the hills and turned the roads into rivers. A thick layer of hailstones covered the desert. This was not a natural phenomenon in this region. The northwestern administrative centers were hit the hardest.
More and more often we see in the news the definition of climatic events as anomalous or rare natural phenomena. And also increasingly visible is the synchronization of cataclysms, when simultaneously in several countries a cascade of natural disasters occurs. Record precipitation, abnormal and unseasonal snowfalls, powerful storms, increased volcanic and seismic activity. All this is happening constantly on the planet and indicates that global climate change is gaining momentum.
Even today, let's say in the last decade, such a phenomenon as rapid intensification has become stronger. When cyclones sharply increase their speed within, let's say, 24 hours, that also happened with Ida.
Of course. After all, this is an anomaly.
Yes.
There was no such thing before, and what we encounter, we will continue to encounter, what we have never dealt with as humanity. Why? Because all of these manifestations are new to us. We're used to our planet being more stable. If something happens there, it's very rare. Because of certain physical processes, let's say, an earthquake or something else, well, the plates are unloaded and that's all. It is clear that there is movement, the planet is alive, so to speak. But those were extremely rare phenomena, and they could not threaten civilization as a whole, whereas now, yes, now, excuse me, is the cycle. Now everything is collapsing. And we are going to see it, we already see it, where it's not having an effect. We see it progressing. Hasn't this been said before? A simple question.
The main cause of climate change is the astronomical cycle with a periodicity of 12,000 years, which depends on cosmic factors. And more scientists are beginning to talk about it openly. The more truth is told about the real causes of the cataclysms occurring on the planet, the more chances mankind has to take the necessary measures to save civilization in the present and near future.
What's happening with the climate today is really unusual. As a scientist, it got me thinking. I started asking my colleagues, I started summarizing my research, and really, there's a lot of strange things going on. During the periods of solar minima, especially a long protracted minimum like the current one, which has been going on since 2012, we are exposed to solar and cosmic rays. Cosmic rays are more energetic and more dangerous. Many stations on Earth that measure cosmic rays are, as expected, registering more and more cosmic rays, very highly charged particles. Cosmic rays are bad for human health. Cosmic rays coming to Earth are not good for the biosphere. We're studying their effects on soil, wetlands and water. Unfortunately, scientists aren't all united in these studies yet because everyone is studying their own area. We know very little about our environment and about space. We are scanning outer space at newer and newer wavelengths, at newer resolutions. The technology is improving extremely fast. Sources of coherent laser radiation may be in many places in our galaxy, but the center of the galaxy probably has a strong source of coherent radiation. Again, this has been discovered by a Japanese telescope and a telescope array in Chile. This is a completely new established fact. We know what is going to happen to the climate. It had already happened 6,000 and 12,000 years ago. What's happening now is not new to us. How can we survive global disasters? We must act right now, because next year it might be too late. Let's direct our efforts towards saving humanity. I didn't want to say this before, but now, after analyzing all the facts, the future depends on our choices. We don't have time to ponder. We only have time for action, only for treating each other well, for being completely open, for spreading full information, and for involving a lot of people of interdisciplinary fields. Are you ready? I'm ready for that.
The world is teetering on the edge of choice. Will we continue to fall into the abyss of the consumer's format of society? Or will we choose to create and develop the best human qualities and life in general? Today, right now, it is necessary to urgently consolidate the efforts of the entire world community, and a solid support on this way is the Creative Society. You can read more about this project at creativesociety.com. Thank you for being with us today, and see you soon on Creative Society TV.